It began as nothing more than a shimmer, an almost forgettable glitch, flickering across the sensors of the SOHO spacecraft. At first, astronomers dismissed it. Space is littered with noise, stray debris, solar flares, random sparks of light. But then came the revelation, not from NASA's billion-dollar observatories, but from a backyard telescope in Australia. Comet expert Michael Mariso captured an image so staggering it made even seasoned scientists stop cold. A celestial intruder blazing with a tail that stretched across the heavens, 5 full moons wide. This wasn't just another icy traveler passing through the void. It was bigger, brighter, and infinitely more unnerving than anything charted before. In a heartbeat, the enigma of 3I Atlas was overshadowed. A new player had arrived on the cosmic stage, one that dwarfed Atlas in sheer magnitude and mystery. Officially catalogued as CEAS 2025R2 Swan, it refused to behave like any known comet, asteroid, or object tethered to our solar system. Instead, Swan pulsed, glowing with patterns of energy so structured they looked engineered, and disturbingly, they followed a rhythm, a schedule. When the James Webb Space Telescope locked its gaze onto this radiant giant, the results shattered every expectation. Swan wasn't drifting rock or frozen dust. It was a construct, a machine. Astronomers who first detected its uncanny precision on September 12, 2025, using the UAN instrument aboard SOHO, could barely believe the data flashing before their eyes. Just 2 days later, the mystery deepened, and the impossible became visible. Amateur astronomer Matzo captured an image that stunned professionals worldwide, a luminous tail stretching 2.5 degrees across the heavens. That's the span of 5 full moons lined up in the night sky, a spectacle so vast it dwarfed even the legendary plume of 3I Atlas. Instantly, the global astronomy community turned its eyes toward this new anomaly. The International Astronomical Union rushed to assign it a name, but naming was the easy part. Explaining it was another story entirely. This wasn't just a ball of ice and rock spiraling past the sun. Swan R2 was something else, something built differently, moving differently, and radiating energy unlike anything catalogued before. Where 3I Atlas showed thrust-like jets, Swan R2 seemed to wield a glowing plasma shield, bending and deflecting the solar wind itself. That wasn't sublimating ice, it was technology. And then came the orbit. Swan R2 wasn't on a random flyby. It was bound to the sun in a path repeating once every 22,554 years, a cycle older than all of recorded human history. Objects don't choose orbits like that unless they're designed to. As the James Webb Space Telescope zeroed in with its unmatched spectroscopic power, the revelations rocked astronomy to its core. The data told a story no natural body could match, a nickel-cobalt alloy, an ultra-dense metallic structure never found in nature but often imagined in advanced engineering blueprints. Stranger still, the so-called tail emitted plasma in measured pulses, tight, rhythmic bursts, not chaotic cometary flares. Yes, traces of carbon dioxide and monoxide were there, but threaded through them were dense streams of ionized nickel plasma. These weren't random outgassings. They were thrust events, deliberate nudges of trajectory. During each burn, Swan R2's glow shifted from deep red to searing white-green, a transformation no natural comet could produce. That's not sublimation. That's the unmistakable flare of a plasma drive fine-tuning its burn. Webb's data confirmed what many had only whispered. This object isn't drifting, it's powered. Buried in its heart is a core emitting more than 10,000 gigawatts every second, a power output rivaling 2 colliding black holes, yet somehow contained inside a single craft. As Swan R2 streaks toward the sun, an even stranger truth emerges. Its course isn't just stable, it's choreographed. Its trajectory aligns with 3I Atlas to arrive at nearly the same place, at nearly the same time, October 2025. On a cosmic scale, that's precision beyond improbable. Swan R2 descends from Aquarius, while 3I Atlas rose from Sagittarius, two utterly different origins now converging within 50 million kilometers of each other and closing fast. This isn't coincidence, it's cosmic choreography. Some scientists suggest Swan R2 has been dispatched to intercept 3I Atlas, retrieve it, disable it, or initiate contact. Others suspect both belong to a vast network, a surveillance lattice operating on timescales far older than human history. If so, the sun isn't just a waypoint in their journey. It's the focal point, the power source, the gate, and these machines may be responding to us, our signals, our probes, or perhaps a timetable older than civilization itself. Here's where the story grows even more unsettling. Researchers like Graham Hancock propose that Swan R2 may have swept past Earth once before, about 22,000 years ago, at the twilight of the last ice age. And that's exactly the era when humanity began carving its greatest mysteries into stone. Monuments, star maps, and pyramids perfectly aligned with Orion, Aquarius, and the ecliptic path of the sun. Were they tracking Swan R2 long before we gave it a name? Were those ancient builders leaving us a cosmic breadcrumb trail, a warning of its return? Some researchers think so. The astonishing precision of the Great Pyramid, Göbekli Tepe, and the Mayan calendars all whisper of a knowledge of cycles far larger than our written history. If Swan R2 has indeed returned, then our myths may actually be memories, coded records of the last encounter. And this time, we're not simply bystanders staring up at a glowing tail. We might already be participants in whatever unfolds next. Just 72 hours after the James Webb team released a redacted snapshot of its findings on Swan R2, a wave of coordinated retractions rippled across the globe. NASA quietly stripped key spectral data from its public servers. The European Space Agency issued a vague statement calling it an unusual but explainable comet. China's National Astronomical Observatory blandly claimed their instruments were under maintenance. What sparked this synchronized blackout? According to an anonymous Jet Propulsion Laboratory insider, multiple agencies were briefed on a classified memo circulating among the Five Eyes intelligence network. The memo cited technological signatures inconsistent with natural origin and described propulsive anomalies, a symmetrical structure hidden beneath the coma, and time-variable emissions suggesting deliberate maneuvering. In short, Swan R2 may not be a comet at all, and someone is trying to control the narrative. But the silence has only stoked the fire of speculation, especially after NASA quietly adjusted Voyager 1's communications array, pivoting it toward Swan R2's projected path. Why? What were they trying to catch or warn as Swan R2 plunged toward the sun? Across the globe, deep space radio arrays, from SETI's dishes to independent observatories in Chile and South Korea, picked up a strange, low-frequency murmur riding the object's plasma tail. At first, it was shrugged off as magnetospheric noise, just another quirk of the solar wind. But when analysts ran pattern recognition, the signal unraveled into something chilling. It wasn't random. The pulses were mathematical, repeating, symmetrical, and between bursts they followed the Fibonacci sequence, a universal pattern etched into the spirals of galaxies, the double helix of DNA, and the architecture of seashells. This wasn't the signature of a dying comet. It was instructions, or worse, a conversation. Even more unsettling, the intervals between bursts were shrinking, as if something was counting down. The final transmission, labeled Burst 8 by SETI, spiked with an energy surge equivalent to a solar flare. Yet it came from deep space, not the sun itself, as though the object wasn't just broadcasting but priming itself for something. Behind closed doors, military space programs scrambled. The U.S. Air Force Space Command quietly repositioned covert surveillance satellites. Russia launched an unscheduled rocket from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome carrying an undisclosed payload aimed toward the ecliptic plane. China's satellite grid shifted, nanosats sliding into a net-like formation over Earth's northern hemisphere. Why all this silent choreography? According to leaked French defense briefings, multiple nations now suspect Swan R2 carries autonomous threat potential, not necessarily a weapon, but something capable of triggering cascading reactions if it strays too close to the sun. Some theorists argue it's not a probe at all, but a relay node, a gravitational switch, or even a cosmic key, engineered to unlock something hidden deep within the sun's magnetic heart. Attempts to launch reconnaissance probes toward Swan R2 ended in failure. Trajectories collapsed, instruments fried by punishing solar radiation. But the most chilling revelation didn't come from a telescope at all. It surfaced in a hushed conversation between two retired engineers from the Deep Space Network. Their words were simple, yet haunting. "We didn't build Voyager 1 just to leave the solar system. We built it to watch what comes in." Meanwhile, James Webb continued peeling back Swan R2's veil. Beneath its glowing coma and electromagnetic tail, something impossible emerged. Symmetry, radial geometry, fractal scaling, an architecture written in cosmic math. Concentric arcs echoed the same golden ratio woven into its signal pulses. This wasn't a wandering rock, it was design. Webb's spectrometry uncovered rhythmic dips in reflected light, the same method astronomers use to detect exoplanet transits. But here, the variations revealed a layered, engineered surface. The reading suggested multi-chambered interiors, metallic reinforcement, even signs of thermal insulation. Stranger still, scans detected cavernous voids, empty cavities that could serve as conduits, storage bays or energy reservoirs. Swan R2 wasn't solid, it was optimized, built to traverse interstellar gulfs, harvest stellar radiation, or safeguard whatever lurked in its core. No comet, asteroid, or natural body has ever displayed such properties, which leaves us with the question that freezes every observer: who built it? Then came the vanishing act. As Swan R2 shot past Mercury's orbit, astronomers prepared for a routine occultation, a short disappearance behind the sun. Yet, when it should have re-emerged, it didn't. Mid-October arrived, and telescopes found nothing. No coma, no trajectory, no signal. For 6 agonizing days, the sky was silent. Swan R2 was gone, until suddenly, a Chilean solar observatory tuned to ultraviolet frequencies registered a burst, a violent flash of high-frequency ion radiation. Swan R2 reappeared, but not where it should have been. Instead, it surfaced hundreds of thousands of kilometers off course, sliding toward the sun's southern pole, a domain where magnetic field lines twist back on themselves like a cosmic Mobius strip. Why would a so-called comet plunge into one of the most unpredictable regions of the heliosphere, a place infamous for gravitational anomalies and magnetic turbulence? Some tried to explain it as a gravitational slingshot maneuver. Others whispered something stranger. Swan R2 had entered a zone of the sun we barely understand, one that some theorists speculate could mask an interdimensional gateway. The question wasn't just how it got there, but why. Was this maneuver intentional? At precisely 3:03 UTC on October 17th, as Swan R2 skimmed closest to the sun's magnetic fold, space weather monitors registered a sudden gamma-ray burst, not from a distant galaxy, but from inside our own heliosphere. It lasted only 0.7 seconds, yet in that blink of time released more energy than the sun emits in 48 hours. Nothing like it had ever been recorded. Even more chilling, this wasn't a scattershot flare. It was directional, a focused beam that cut cleanly through Earth's orbital plane, jamming satellite navigation and even rattling deep-sea communications cables. And when researchers overlaid the burst's origin with Swan R2's last known trajectory, the two aligned perfectly. Something on or within the object had either absorbed solar energy and unleashed it, or had interacted with the sun itself in a way we've never witnessed. Either way, this was no longer just movement, it was manipulation. And when Swan R2 emerged again from behind the sun, SETI and NASA's Deep Space Network confirmed it had resumed transmissions, except now the signal was different. Gone were the sharp pulses and bursts. In their place, Swan R2 now emitted a spiral waveform, modulated across multiple frequencies, a living helix of sound and energy twisting through the void. When researchers dissected the harmonics, the result froze them. The frequencies matched the rotational signatures of Earth's own tectonic plates. In other words, Swan R2 wasn't just signaling, it was mimicking Earth, or trying to speak in Earth's own natural language. One band locked onto the Schumann resonance, a subtle electromagnetic hum some believe shapes human consciousness. Another mirrored the Morse-like pulse patterns of the Voyager probes. Was Swan R2 reaching out to Earth, or was it calling to Voyager itself? And if a conversation had begun, who, or what, was on the other end? Days after the signal shift, NASA quietly slipped a tiny update into the Voyager mission logs. Hidden among routine entries was a single anomaly. Voyager 1 had autonomously reoriented its high-gain antenna, rotating 2.4 degrees west, directly toward Swan R2's coordinates. The probe is beyond the heliopause, adrift in interstellar space. It shouldn't even be able to track internal solar system objects. And yet, It had. The timestamp of Voyager's turn aligned perfectly with the gamma-ray burst from Swan R2, as though the probe heard the surge and responded. Engineers at JPL are stunned. Voyager's software hasn't been updated in decades. There is no AI on board, no reactive protocols, and yet, here it is, behaving like a receiver waiting for a message. Some now whisper that Swan R2 transmitted a signal meant for Voyager specifically, recognizing it not as a piece of metal, but as a relic of intelligent life. Others fear the opposite of contact. Voyager wasn't just listening, it was pinged and it answered. If that's true, then something far beyond our world now knows exactly where we are. As Swan R2 drifted toward the solar system's edge, a bizarre phenomenon appeared on Galileo orbiter's sensors. An artificial eclipse-like shadow cast across Europa, Jupiter's frozen moon of hidden oceans. This was no ordinary shadow. It lingered far longer than orbital mechanics allowed and moved in defiance of R2's predicted path. Spectral analysis revealed it wasn't caused by simple light blocking at all, but by an interference pattern, like ripples of high-energy waves overlapping in space. Suddenly, scientists realized Swan R2 might be wielding gravitational lensing or field projection, bending light itself as part of its propulsion or its cloaking system. The implications were staggering. We weren't observing a visitor simply passing through. We were watching a machine capable of rewriting physics locally. Was it shielding itself from detection, scanning Europa's icy crust for something hidden, or activating something long dormant beneath the moon's frozen shell? Then came the image. James Webb's NIRCam, during a fleeting occluded window, captured what should not exist inside the swirling coma of a comet. For 0.37 seconds, a perfectly spherical structure appeared, metallic, smooth, radiating an infrared signature too stable to be natural. And at its center lay something even more unnerving, a dark void ringed with a symmetrical ridge, an engineered aperture analysts now call the iris. It wasn't ice, it wasn't rock. It was a construct, an artificial eye staring back from the heart of Swan R2. The world erupted. Social feeds, forums, and live streams churned with theories. Was the iris an optical sensor, a receiver, a camera, or some kind of biological organ embedded within a mechanical frame? Specialists in biomimicry noted that its architecture mirrors deep-sea creatures adapted to absolute darkness, predators whose eyes are tuned to see where no light exists. Could Swan R2's eye be designed to watch the cosmos across wavelengths beyond human comprehension, or worse, to watch us? Then came a revelation that cracked open the debate. A team of independent researchers at MIT published a blistering paper. After dissecting telemetry from Swan R2's signal bursts, the harmonics matched patterns from Earth's own early satellite communication systems, specifically Cold War-era Project Echo frequencies. The implications were chilling. Either Swan R2 is mimicking human transmissions to bridge communication, or it has been listening to us for decades and is now responding in our own electromagnetic accent. One harmonic even matched the infamous "wow" signal detected in 1977, a frequency deliberately chosen for interstellar messaging because nature rarely produces it. If Swan R2 is using Earth-born modulation as a template, then whoever, or whatever, sent it may have been waiting, not for us to receive a message, but to understand one we were never ready for until now. And then, a breakthrough emerged from an unlikely alliance of astrophysicists and AI pattern recognition specialists. Feeding Swan R2's transmissions into a deep learning model trained to sift multidimensional anomalies produced something unexpected, a 3D topographical construct, not of the object itself, but of a patch of sky, a set of deep space coordinates. It pointed toward an otherwise unremarkable region near the constellation Lyra. Radio telescopes zeroed in on the coordinates from the Lyra map, and then froze. From that direction came a faint echo of Swan R2's own signal, bouncing back in an impossible pattern, as though from a second transmitter or a station patiently waiting at the other end of the line. When astronomers overlaid the signal with archived exoplanet data, the map didn't point to a known planet at all. It aimed squarely at a void, an apparently empty region of space, yet one whose mathematics whispered of a Dyson-like cloaking field, hiding something immense. Swan R2 may not be just a scout, it could be a beacon, a guide lighting a path home. or to something that does not want to be found. Whatever it is, it's not traveling alone. It's part of a lattice, and now Earth is on it. For decades, humanity has beamed signals into the abyss, hoping for a whisper in the silence. But what if the silence was never absence at all? What if it was surveillance? Every unanswered message, from Voyager's golden record to the WOW signal, may not have been ignored, but logged. Swan 2 isn't just an object. It isn't a comet. It isn't a fluke. It's a messenger, a watcher, a trigger. Its perfect geometry, controlled emissions, gamma burst, and mimicry of Earth's Cold War satellite bands all point to one disturbing truth. This was designed with intent. If that's true, then the sphere, 100 times larger than 3i Atlas, isn't merely passing through. It's a scout navigating territory already mapped. The sun is its corridor, the signal, its fingerprint. And now, either we've answered it, or worse, it's answered itself. Which leaves the real question. If Swan 2 is 100 times larger than 3i Atlas, what sent it? And if what sent it is listening now, maybe we're not waiting for a visit. Maybe the visit already happened, and we failed to recognize the city because it was built in the dark. If this revelation shakes your idea of the cosmos, subscribe to Deep Orbit. We're tracking every pulse of this unfolding mystery. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Share this with someone who still believes the void is empty, and tell us in the comments, do you think Swan 2 is a beacon, a scout, or something far stranger?